Here we go. We are less than 1 week away from the Minnesota Fishing Opener. Pretty exciting stuff. I know a lot of anglers here in Minnesota, this is the time of year they really start to get antsy. We've been chasing crappies the last few weeks. Let's say, actually been chasing crappies the last month, over a month I think. I've been out there for a while. But now we get to chase bass. Catch and release season for bass, walleyes, northern pike. Something that really puts a tug on the line. So pretty excited here to get out there and chase some other fish, game fish species with the Minnesota Fishing Opener in literally 6 days. Before we get into any of that, I'd like to wish all the moms out there happy Mother's Day. I tell you what, some of the most influential people in people's lives, hands down, are moms. My mom has been such an important role in my life, from being a young kid playing sports to helping me pursue my fishing passion to always being supportive, unconditional love. So to all moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Hopefully you're being spoiled and pampered today and being fed grapes with your feet up on the couch. So happy Mother's Day, moms, and love every one of you. That's outstanding. So getting into the meat and potatoes of what we can expect for Fishing Opener and kind of talking about this past week. I'll do a recap on the week and then kind of my preview on what I plan to do for Fishing Opener, some of my suggestions, even maybe hopefully some fun patterns I think will develop. So we're supposed to see some warmer weather this week. Please, it's been in the 30s again in the morning. It's been cold. We've been wearing gloves and stocking caps again. Like, things are kind of stalling out this past week, stalling out, even reverting back to some patterns we saw a couple of weeks ago, where even saw some fish even slide back out of the weeds, crappies, and stage on that weed line at 8 to 12 feet again versus like up in them where you can see them. It's just how we've been dealt the weather. This spring has been very interesting on the weather front of things. One day I feel like I'm getting toasty warm and sweating. The next day I can't find enough layers in the boat to throw on to stay warm, whether it's wind, whether it's cold weather, whether it's frost on the boat when I wake up in the morning to get out to the lake. Can't control it. We've talked about this. Can't control it. Got to go fishing. Got to chase down these fish. So water temps this past week were teetering in the low 50s in the metro. We saw some mid 50 degree stuff. Never approached high 50s because, again, when water temps are 52, 53 degrees and when air temps are barely touching that with not a lot of sun, you do the math, you're just not going to warm that water up. We need 60 degree days and sun, maybe a 70 degree day. We need some sun to start popping out to get these water temps to shoot up. So I'm thinking this week it's looking like we might see some warmer weather. It's going to teeter on up as we get towards Fishing Opener if the weather continues as predicted. Fishing Opener is going to be interesting because I think it's saying about 70 degrees and sunny, so things could pop off and we could catch a pile of fish. So here's what we found this past week. Again, we still caught some fish shallow. On the lakes that I found crappies going into their spawning movements, which we did start to see this past week and last weekend, they continue with that pattern. Once they move up into the beds and start to do their thing, they don't stop. It's not like the weather pushes them back out. They are now committed to that. So the one thing I found nice is if I'm on a body of water where I'm finding spawning crappies, last weekend we had that really warm weather, they will continue to have that pattern. They are not going to change. Now if you're in a body of water where you kind of had some fish staging, the shallow bite was starting to turn on, but hey, fish, you weren't getting big dark female or males yet. They weren't getting metallic around the gill plate. Some of those fish unfortunately slid back out. So keep that in mind in the body of water you target. Everything's not consistent. So just because you had spawning fish on this lake doesn't mean they're spawning on this lake. So everything's different. Everything this time of year is temperature driven. So continue to pay attention to some of those variables on determining whether or not you're going to target shallow fish, move off the weed line, whatever it might be. So we fished a variety of lakes this week. Obviously I was on Minnetonka a bunch, Chisago area. We did make a trip to Osakis, which things are behind us at least a week up there. Water temps are 49 to 51 up there. We weren't finding anything warm, and fish were definitely not in the weeds up there yet. Not this week. Heard rumors of them being in the weeds last week. We couldn't find them in the weeds this week. Water temps definitely dropped back off, and what happened is these fish slid out 8 to 12 feet, and that's where we found the crappies. So how am I going to attack this week? I'm going to continue to fish crappies to some degree. So a lot of anglers on Fishing Opener just have to fish walleyes, have to fish pike, have to fish bass, and I get it, and that's great, and we're all eager for that. But one thing I'd always encourage you, and I tell everybody this every year at Fishing Opener, is don't be afraid to fish for crappies. and bluegills. Some of my best crappie fishing all year is actually on fishing opener weekend, because that's pretty much, generally speaking, and this year's setting up to be the same, when they're going to be in the heat of the spawn. You can see them, they're big, they're dark, they're right up shallow in the weeds, and you can catch them. So if you're struggling to catch walleyes or pike or anything like that, throw a crappie on the boat. I'll have one on the boat this entire week, and on fishing opener I'll be probably slinging at some crappies here and there as well if I'm struggling to catch other fish. So I love to chase bass, especially this time of year. So now that we can do a catch and release season in Minnesota, so once the fishing opener hits this coming Saturday in Minnesota, you can legally target largemouth bass. You have to let everyone go, which I generally encourage anyway. So, but you can target them. You can go out there and chase bass. So you don't have to do the walleye and pike thing if you don't want to. Myself, you might find me actually hit a lake that doesn't even have walleye, just to avoid that angling pressure. So I'll be going out there chasing bass. I'll also just be targeting fish, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So for starters, it's pretty hard to go wrong with an 1/8 ounce jig head. This is just a tungsten drop TG from Clam. 1/8 ounce jig head and your favorite plastic. All fish a small paddle tail or a minnow bait or a fluke, and just cover water. I got 20-pound braid on here with like an 8 or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, 3-4 feet up, and that 1/8 ounce jig head. And I'll put a little Thorne minnow bait. I'll put, you know, a small ringworm type bait, anything like that. A little pocket phenom, just something that's, you know, 3 to 5 inches in profile, and I'll just cover water. I can pitch that up against shallow cover. I can hit the edge of the weeds, and if I'm using a paddle tail like a sassy shad, I can just get after it and go. I can fish anything I want. Even that, you know, I'll fish a twister tail on this. So just an 1/8 ounce jig head can catch you a pile of fish. Oftentimes we overthink what we're doing. Oftentimes we often do that, but I'm going to tell you just to go after it and chase down some fish. So I'll use the new Sassy Swimmer, all that kind of stuff to catch walleyes, bass, pike, and just start slinging. And a lot of fish right now, especially game fish like the walleyes and the pike, are going to be related to warm water, just like we've taught ourselves the last few weeks. Warm water, generally weed-driven stuff, and main lake points, main lake humps, main lake saddles, like off shoreline structure. I'm not fishing way out. They're relating to shoreline structure, and I'm just covering water and fan casting. Otherwise, I'm throwing a reaction bait. I want to get these fish's attention. A lot of anglers will throw jerk baits and crankbaits right now for largemouth bass and pike. I tend to shy away from crankbaits, not because they catch fish, because I'm generally guiding somebody or I have a bunch of kids in my boat. I don't like a lot of hooks flying around. They catch fish though, so if that's your thing and you want to throw crankbaits, you'll catch some fish on them. Rattle traps, shallow diving, jerk baits, all that kind of stuff will catch fish right now. Me, I'm gonna chuck either a swim jig or a chatterbait. So I'll throw 3/8 ounce chatterbait with a paddle tail on the back of that and just cover water. This is a reaction bait. I can get fish to eat this, whether it's a bass, whether it's a pike, and I can just sit there and cover water and get that vibration. You want to get these fish to react. The water temps are still generally cold, so I'll throw a reaction bait. Some anglers throw a spinner bait. You're going to catch a fish in a spinner bait too, but I have better luck with a chatterbait or a swim bait or a swim jig, and I throw that all-terrain swim jig, and I throw it. You know, you can throw on a spinning rod, no doubt. I have a lot of clients fish on a spinning rod. I'll throw it on a bait caster with, like, you know, a 17-pound fluorocarbon. And if you have braid on your bait caster or a spinning rod, just put a fluorocarbon leader. Do a double uni knot, search double uni knot, tie fluorocarbon to braid, 3-4 foot leader, tie on that swim jig with either a twister tail or a paddle tail or something to that effect on the back end, and just cover water. Swim jigs are super effective this time of year because I can cast them in 2 feet of water, I can cast them in 7 feet of water. I can throw them by a dock, I can throw them by pencil reeds, you name it. Just a great all versatile bait for covering water right now. I'm going to catch you a pile of bass. Tom Hain last week in Wisconsin, we went over there to chase some fish, and he caught 40-inch northern pike on a swim jig. It was massive, one of the biggest pike in my boat, just ballooned up. So swim jigs catch a pile of fish. So check out those swim jigs on all-terrain swim jigs. I've been really catching fish on these for years and years and years and years, and it's a do-nothing approach. Put it on the rod, cast it out there, reel it in nice and slow. Maybe add a few hops once in a while. It's that simple to catch fish with that bait. I'm also going to throw a wacky rig. You guys know me, I'm throwing Kamitas all the time. Brody will be in my boat. I'll have my kids with me. Wacky rigs catch a pile of bass this time of year because everything, like we said, is up shallow. You can see the bass swimming around, and if you start seeing them swimming around and you're spooking them, back off the spot. throw a wacky rig at them. Just throw it at them, let it sit, do nothing for 5, 6, 7 seconds. If one's there, I promise you it's gonna eat. This is the time of year they're up shallow, they're chowing, they're excited, it's pre-spawn, they're starting to think about where they're gonna spawn and what they're gonna do. So throwing a wacky rig at them will more than likely seal the deal and catch you a fish. So those are generally my approaches to getting out this time of year. I'm not probably going to be soaking a lot of live bait. A lot of anglers will Lindy rig, spinner rig, or slip bob or something to that effect. Great, get after it. Minnows are probably a little more effective than leeches right now because the water temps are cold. Or night crawlers, so minnows or night crawlers are probably going to be your best approach for live bait. I'll generally turn to leeches here probably in the next couple weeks. Although I've caught some fish on leeches on opener too, so if that's what you have in your arsenal, give it a shot. I think, you know, we give fish more credit sometimes. They just are going to eat. And this time of year, they're generally active. So super excited for the Minnesota fishing opener. This past week, like I said, water temps teeter in that low to mid 50-degree range here in the metro. We still found our crappies in the weeds. They were definitely starting to stage for the spawn. Some fish are actually in the midst of the spawn. So from a panfish perspective, fishing's great. I'm excited to get out and chase some bass. I'm seeing a lot of them up shallow, so my prediction is you're going to have a great bass bite this weekend if that's what you choose to fish. Walleye fishing, you're probably going to work a little harder, but hey, get out there prime time, start the day early, break in the fishing opener in style, and if you want to just get action, throw a chatterbait, spinnerbait, shallow diving crankbait, cover water, and catch a lot of pike and who knows what else. So great opportunity this weekend. Hopefully the weatherman's correct and we see 70 degrees. Lakes are going to be busy, lakes are going to be packed. Be respectful, be courteous of other anglers, be a true sportsman for the sport, especially if you got kids around or family members. Be an ambassador, be a good role model, and go out there and catch some fish and have some fun. So have a wonderful Minnesota fishing opener. We'll report back after, hopefully, everyone catches a pile of fish and kicks off the 2021 season in style. So good luck, be safe.